Hello YouTube world, thanks for tuning into this one. So we are on to episode 3 of my series on programming drum beats, drum grooves in different styles. So far we've covered kind of classic rock pop stuff, we did trap in episode 2, and for this one we're on to drum and bass. As with the others, I've come across, I can't even remember where I got these from, but there's a load of loops here, which I will share with you because I'm kind. Basically what these are, we've got this side is the audio, some basic drum and bass kind of stuff, and then on that side, this one is basically it's the MIDI version of that, which is not playing for some reason, don't know why. There we go. That's because there's nothing in that loop. That'll be right. Okay. Anyway, so there you go. You'll get an empty loop. But anyway, right. So I'll put all these in the folder on my Patreon account as I've done with the others. So if you do want to get a hold of these loops and also the ones I'm going to create in a minute, then just go over to my Patreon. There's a link in the description, and you just got to subscribe. Basically, it's very cheap. It's either $1 a month or $3.50 a month. Either tier of subscription will get you these loops because I'm making it available to everybody. And yeah, it just helps me, gives me a bit of support and helps keep the channel going. So let's crack on. Drum and bass. Probably the fastest of the genres I'm going to look at. So drum and bass generally is kind of like, I don't know, 160 to 180 beats per minute. I've got my project set randomly at 176. And it's kind of, in its basic form, it's quite a simple sort of pattern. Basically, you've got your snare drum playing its normal backbeat on beat 2 and beat 4. Now, what you want with a drum and bass kit is certainly a couple of snares. So I'm going to use these two. I'm going to use this as my main one, and this is what I would call my auxiliary snare. So main snare hit is going to be on beat 2 and beat 4, and then the classic drum and bass drum is to have your bass drum on beat 1. That's a weird sounding bass drum. Go with that one. And then the and of beat 2. So as I've done previously, I'm on the 16th note resolution here. So remember, in 4 squares is 1 beat. So beat 1, 1.2 is beat 2. 1.3 is beat 3 and 1.4 is beat 4. So your bass drums are going to be on beat 1, and then the 8th note, the second 8th note of beat 3. So that's like the 1, sorry, from beat 3 would be 3 and. So if you're counting 16th, 3 E and. But so it's going to be there basically. It's going to sound like this. Now what you want to watch sometimes is these are quite, if you hear when I first played that, because I'd only got a 16th note in, it was kind of chopping off the sound a little bit because they're quite long samples on this. If you look at the samples here, let's just go over to the kick. Okay, if I play that. Okay, so if you find that's happening, all you got to do is just extend the length of the notes. I think probably the same with the snare drum as well. Let's just go back. Where's the snare hit? Which one I use now, but anyway, we'll do the same thing with the snare. So yeah, what you might want to do is just kind of highlight everything, Control A, and if we play the loop and then drag it out till it, yeah, it's not really going to affect the snare drum, but the bass drums certainly need that extra length. It doesn't matter if these notes overlap. Okay, it's the start point of the notes that we're worried about mostly. Because sometimes, like I say, you've got to get it longer to get the full sound in there. So hi-hat, we're going to go straight 8th notes. So remember, if we're in 16th note, it's going to go like that. If we're in 16th note resolution. Okay, and there is our classic drum and bass sound. Not probably the best sounding drum and bass kit in the world, but does the job. What we then want to do is on the auxiliary snare is going to add in which one? Going to use that higher one there. This kind of thing. Not there. In fact, I'm going to just, because the snare drums don't need to be that long, and it kind of confuses the thing, I think, a little bit if we have them too long. And we get that kind of thing. Now what I would do is make those a bit quieter. So, I mean, we could, I guess, we could like then start to put extra hi-hat beats in. Put an open somewhere in there. And so on. I mean, you might then want to, we could like, I don't know, just put 2 basses on the first beat. Okay, so the rest is just down to kind of what you want to sort of add in. That is it. I mean, the drum and bass groove is pretty straightforward. Let's just get rid of that. It is basically just making sure you get your bass drum on beat 1 and the under beat 3. That is pretty much it. I mean, other stuff you can then... start to add bits in. Oh, I know. That kind of thing. Okay, so that is your basis of drum and bass, and then you just go crazy with all the other stuff. So I'm going to keep this one pretty short. It's pretty simple. There's not a lot to it. That's it. But I'd say you're going to have all these loops to play. But if you listen to it, you'll hear, if I just go through a few of these, you'll basically hear it's the same bass drum and snare drum pattern all the time. That's quite a nice sort of drum and bass drum fill kind of idea. Is that the correct one? Yeah, so if I just play that. Okay, again, the drum sounds a little bit weird for this one, but you've got a few loops and whatever that you can kind of analyze and go through. The other thing I would do as well is try and do what we did on the trap one. Let me just play one of these loops. You know, have a go at kind of recreating these. If you're only good at reading waveforms as well, you can actually see where your kick drums are on this one. And your snare. So you've got one, basically it's like 1 and a 2. So these are on your 16th note. So you can kind of work it out from here as well. If you change your grid to 16th there, you can sort of work out basically where your beats are. There's your snare drum. Okay, so the MIDI would look like this. I mean, this is already done for you, but just so you can see how it goes. Let's go back to 16th. So let's play that again. And so on, yeah, you know. Okay, so I'm jabbering on as usual. So don't moan at me for talking too much, because you should know by now I talk way too much in my videos. So I'm going to shut up there. So there we go. That's drum and bass done. If you've got any suggestions for any other genres for the future, if you want me to do those, I will do those. There are others coming up. I'll do some like EDM stuff and dubstep, and I'll do a couple of classic drum grooves as well. Kind of, I'll do like the Amen or the Amen break, whatever you want to call it, and like When the Levee Breaks, the Led Zeppelin thing that's been sampled like 60,000 million times. So they're coming up as well. And yeah, thanks for watching. Like I say, if you want to get all these loops, please go subscribe on Patreon. And yeah, share the videos around, check my music out, and all the other usual things I say at the end of the videos. And I will see you in the next one. Cheers.